We have some more injury updates on Joel Embiid and Paul George coming from an NBA Insider. And let me tell you guys, it does not sound too promising. I wish I could come up here and say that we're getting some good news. Unfortunately, that is not the case here today. Before we get into the latest on each of those two stars, be honest with me, guys, with where we're at in the offseason. Season is quickly approaching. What is your current level of concern as it comes to Joel Embiid and Paul George and their injuries? Scale it for me 1 through 10. 1 being you're not concerned at all, 10 being the alarms are going off. You are all over the place, extremely concerned. Get down in the comment section. And with that, let's start today's show. Brett Siegel, NBA Insider for Clutch Points, came in yesterday, Sunday, August 3rd, with this update on Paul George and Joel Embiid. He was asked on Twitter, like, where's the latest on these guys? We haven't really been hearing a lot on PG and Joel. And Siegel said, only updates we have right now, Paul George is out for the start of training camp. We have not heard that yet. So pretty big stuff there from Siegel. George is out for the start of training camp. May not play in the preseason, too early there to tell. As for Joel Embiid, there is genuine concern about his knee health. Of course, word from Philly gets downplayed, but around the league, word is bad. Just somehow it keeps getting worse. But is this really cause for concern? Let's break it all down, starting with Paul George. So, in case you missed it, as a little bit of a recap, Paul George did suffer a left knee injury during a recent workout in the middle of July. Following that injury, he underwent an arthroscopic procedure as a cleanup. It didn't involve any major ligaments, and arthroscopic surgery is much more minor than a regular surgery. The incisions are much smaller, so not a major thing. And the Sixers had said he would be reevaluated before training camp, usually taking place near the end of September. But Siegel's coming out now and saying that he will be out to begin training camp. How can we really know that when we're still over a month away from the start? Maybe Siegel's hearing that the recovery is not going great for Paul George, but that is just a hypothetical. Regardless, it's more setbacks here for PG, especially if he is going to miss time to start training camp. Of course, you go back to the start of his tenure in Philadelphia, where he hyperextended that knee in the preseason, causing him to miss time heading into the regular season. Then in November, kind of still dealing with some lingering effects of that hyperextension, left knee started to bother him again. Then we go to March, where, between January to March, he kind of started to figure things out a little bit, started to get a little bit more healthy, but then suffers a groin injury in March that gets him to be shut down for the rest of the season. And then as he's trying to get healthy this offseason and start this year off strong, suffers that knee injury, has the arthroscopic surgery. Look, I'll be honest though, I'm not too concerned about this Paul George situation as of right now, even if Siegel is correct and George does end up missing time to start training camp. I'm not too worried about it. You want to play it safe with Paul George at this point. It's not, again, a major surgery or a major injury he's coming off of right now. Even last year, a lot of his injuries, it was just kind of a few things here, a few things there that just kept piling up and piling up. So ensure he's coming into the season fully healthy. You don't need a repeat of what happened last year. Even if he doesn't play preseason, who cares, right? He's been around this league long enough. Get him, ramped up in camp, get him ready to go so he can hit the ground running. I am more concerned, however, when it comes to this update from Siegel on Joel Embiid, that people around the league outside of Philadelphia are more concerned about his knee and think it's not doing quite as well as they think it is in Philadelphia. Of course, Embiid also underwent an arthroscopic surgery on his left knee back in April. People are like, man, why doesn't he just finally get this surgery that can really fix everything? They keep trying to do all these other procedures, but that's the route they decided to go. Morey recently came out and said a couple weeks ago that the recovery was going well. It was going as they expected, and Joel Embiid should be ready for the start of training camp again around the end of September. But Embiid came out in his ESPN piece that dropped a couple of weeks ago, right after Morey said he'd be ready for camp. Embiid said, look, we're not going to push anything with this injury. We don't have a timeline right now. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to be 100% back out there. We're done rushing things. Look, the reason I am concerned personally when it comes to this update from Joel Embiid, because I know a lot of you are going to say, "Oh, it's Brett Siegel, NBA Insider. What does he really know? He's wrong sometimes on certain things. How can we really trust this one report by Siegel when we haven't really heard anything else by other NBA insiders? I haven't heard Shams say anything." Look, the reason that this Paul George, or excuse me, the Joel Embiid one in particular is a little bit concerning to me isn't just the report from Siegel, but it's everything that's kind of happened and transpired, especially over the past 6 months, even going back past a year and a half, right? We know how the Sixers team operates when it comes to injuries. I don't need to tell you more than once that they don't do a good job of being transparent with Sixers fans and being transparent with the media about their star players' injuries, right? It's just the way they do things. It's a little bit shady, a little bit sketchy, and it's just the reality of this Sixers organization. So we already know Morey coming out and saying, "Oh yeah, he'll be ready for training camp." We can't really trust that 100% of the way. What's also really though piqued my interest and really got me concerned in this scenario is the way Joel Embiid's kind of been talking and acting about this injury. Joel Embiid's a very, very private person, right? And if you read this ESPN article that came out very recently, it detailed his whole journey really in the NBA and his entire life. He's super, super private. He doesn't like talking to the media. He doesn't like really talking to other people. He really keeps to himself, stays in the house. That's it. Super private about his entire life. He's been very public, though, about this injury going back to when he first kind of suffered or was at least discussing the possibility of having that surgery back in February of this season. He was still trying to figure out ways to get back out on the floor. The knee kept bothering him. The Sixers couldn't figure out what type of procedure to move forward with. And there was some, I guess you could say, discrepancies between Embiid and between Philadelphia in terms of the right way to move forward. Do we do surgery? If we do, what kind of surgery do we get? Or do we let it heal on its own? Do we try to push things again? Embiid in February told ESPN's Lisa Salters that he needed surgery. He came out and said that himself, right? Instead of keeping things between him and the team and Daryl Morey, he said, "No, I am going to need this surgery. We have to figure this out." So finally starting to come forward and take some control of the narrative and what he thinks this team needs to be doing in regards to the injury. That he has the surgery in April. He was supposed to be reevaluated 6 weeks later. 6 weeks go by, nothing happens. 8 weeks go by, nothing happens. And eventually, Morey says he'll be ready for training camp. But then this ESPN story comes out with Joel Embiid, where a true deep dive and look into everything that's happened in his career. And Embiid revealed so much about his relationship with the Sixers, especially early on when he was missing his first couple of seasons with injury, how fractured that relationship was from the start. And he really dove into a lot of his personal life, which again, he never, ever does. But in this instance, he was really, really open about it. And it was very eye opening to see how poorly run the Sixers front office and management in general really was when Embiid was drafted. Over and over again, they had disagreements. Embiid felt like people didn't trust him, right? And then he comes out and says, "Yeah, I know Morey said I'll be ready by training camp. There's no timeline, though. We're not rushing things. We're kind of doing things my way from here on out." So he has really been way more vocal in this instance that we have ever heard before. And now, combined with the fact that Siegel's reporting that word around the league is that this Embiid injury is not good and it's not quite as optimistic as those in Philadelphia think, all those things combined are why I'm getting more and more concerned about Embiid's availability to start the year. And look, I know Keith Pompey talked about this, and I'm not going to go quite this far to read into it, as he said it was a cry for help from Joel, kind of saying that he's almost looking at retirement and thinking like, "Man, I'm almost done here. Like, I got to do what I can at this point." It does seem a little bit though like Embiid is doesn't really have that trust in this Sixers organization, and he knows how bad this injury is, and they're not going about it the right way. It's speculation from me, but that's just the way I'm reading into this entire situation right now. And it really goes back the past year and a half, right? I think ever since he suffered his injury initially in 2024 against the Warriors, when Jonathan Kuminga fell on his leg, he rushed back for the playoff series, played hurt against the Knicks. All since then, last offseason with the Olympics, and of course, what happened this past season, things have just felt different with Joel Embiid and with the injuries. Usually, you feel like, yeah, he does get injured a lot, but we're getting this done. We can bounce back, and that's that. This past year and a half has not felt the same. And to me, it feels like we could be coming to some kind of crossroads with Embiid, with this organization. It's really a huge, huge season this year, and that's why it's important that the Sixers are doing what they can to make sure he's healthy instead of rushing him back once again. But we know how the Sixers do things. We know how Morey does things. They're trying to save their jobs, and Embiid might finally have had enough. Who are you more worried about when it comes to their current injury situation? For me, it's definitely Joel Embiid, but you let me know. Type PG for Paul George, JE for Joel Embiid. Get down in the comment section. Before we move forward on today's show, a very special deal alert over at our friends at Fanatics that's only available today. Right now, you can get 25% off on a ton of different items over at Fanatics if you use the code CLASS at checkout. CLASS code CLASS. And you can use it to pick up a fresh new jersey, a current player, a former player. A lot of jerseys on sale right now using that code. But you can also use it for other things: shirts, hats, shorts, all different kinds of gear is on sale. But again, it's today only, Monday, August 4th. Using that code CLASS, you get 25% off. You plug in chatsports.com/76jerseys. That'll take you to where all the jerseys are at Fanatics. And if you want one, you can get one. But you can also browse, see what other items are also available. Again, using that link, chatsports.com/76jerseys. 25% off today only. Take advantage before it's too late. Before we hop on out of here, one quick roster note that I wanted to pass along to you guys. Mark Steiner reporting this morning that Jeff Doughton Jr. is signing with Maccabi Tel Aviv in the Euro League. Maccabi's new point guard and the second Sixer. Mark's actually wrong on this. He's the third Sixer to join them this summer, alongside Lonnie Walker Jr. and actually O'Shea Brissett also signed with Maccabi Tel Aviv. So Jeff Doughton no longer going to be with the Sixers team. He was no longer eligible to sign a two-way contract. Once you get past 4 years of NBA experience, you are no longer allowed to sign a two-way. So Jeff Doughton's been around this team for a couple of years now. He's been a Nick Nurse guy. A lot of people thought he could be back this offseason, but because he was no longer eligible to sign the two-way, doesn't make sense to give him a regular roster spot. He's done some decent things from time to time, but really more of a G League guy or an end-of-the-bench guy. Now he'll go overseas to try and compete there with a couple of his former Sixers teammates as well. So as I mentioned, Jeff Doughton, Lonnie Walker, O'Shea Brissett, all going to play for Maccabi Tel Aviv. And then, of course, we know some of the other guys the Sixers lost this offseason, and Gershon Yabusele going to the Knicks. Jared Butler ended up signing with the Suns, and Ricky Council very recently, if you missed it, did a video on this, go watch, signing with the Nets. So not a ton of crazy losses for Philadelphia. I mean, when you look at that list of guys, like only Yabusele really got more than the minimum, and even then, Gershon didn't get a whole lot of money. So when you talk about the way the Sixers roster is turning over from last year into this year, is it better? Is it worse? It's tough to say because, again, they were so injured last season. They should be better record-wise than they were last year. But again, going back to Paul George, going back to Joel Embiid, you need these guys to be ready to go. You need these guys to be healthy. And I'm confident that Paul George can have a bounce-back season and that he can stay healthy. But I just don't know how you can have a whole lot of confidence in Joel Embiid right now. And I'm an Embiid guy. I'll back him up. I love him to death. I know a lot of you guys don't. Some people are on each side of that. I'm an Embiid guy, but at this point in his career, it's tough to know what to expect moving forward, especially with this recent report here today from Brett Siegel. That'll do it for today's show. If you guys watched till the very end, I do appreciate that. Let me know you enjoyed by giving me a real one down in the comment section. Of course, I'll show love to all the real ones down below. Don't forget to hit that sub button as well, and we'll catch you next time right here on 76ers Now.